Well, here we're looking at AMD, and we're seeing us try to recover a little bit. We saw Doji start today, showing a little bit of indecision, and we're in on it. I do think that we should start to see this try to squeeze back up a little higher here, and it seems like it's trying to improve a little bit. So this is one that I wanted to kind of get positioned, especially with the prior low. I want to say something about our stop losses. A lot of the people that are familiar with what we do. I think it's sometimes stop losses are somewhat common sense. Sometimes you don't see them on the board, and the reason why you don't see it on the board, in fairness to us, we're sometimes doing the trade on the day, and it depends on where we enter on it. We talk about the potential catching the open or the low. So for us to get the a stop doesn't really usually make sense in that regard. Sometimes right off the bat. Also, we're dealing with some serious volatility a lot of times, and sometimes if we put it a little too close, depending on the volatility, we could really get stopped pretty early. That's why a lot of times I'll leave it because I'll have idea in mind how it's trading, and then I will change it. But I always have a mental kind of stop, just so that for the record there. I always think it's important that if somebody is not comfortable with that, you can use many different ways. You could use the prior low, you could use the prior weekly low, you could use a prior pivot low, you could for your stop. You could use, many different ones, but you could use the average true range, say, depending upon how that's been moving. Say, a lot of times I'll use like 2.5 average true range. For a while, I was putting some stops on there, but recently I didn't put some stops. But keep in mind, that's normally what I do. And those that know and follow what we've done, we really have taken too big of losses most of the time when things get, sketchy. I try to jump out of a position. I usually try to keep it around 10%. Sometimes that's not always the case. But because of the volatility, sometimes a 10% move in a smaller dollar stock is not a lot. So I usually get a feel for how it's trading, and that's how I kind of exit out, because I don't always want to stop to exit me. I would, if I don't like the stock the way the way it's going, I would rather get a little bit of that action back instead of just, okay, if they open it up, guess what? They open it up here, yeah, my stop gets hit, but guess what? At the end of the day, they try to rally it back, and then I could have waited for them to kind of open it up the next day and then sell into the peak and then exit out. So that's what I do anyway to try to get a better handle on what's going on instead of have it automatically done for me. But it's very important that people put a stop and always have some mental stop in mind. And really, again, it depends on your what you're trading. So sometimes people say I don't see a stop, and that you shouldn't. We have a stop, and but it really depends on your trading style. I mean, if you're trading 10,000 shares, your stop would be different than somebody that is trading 100 shares or 10 shares. They may have a higher tolerance because it doesn't matter. It could be part of a big portfolio. It could be in their mind they're doing a long-term trend instead of a short-term trade. So the stops change accordingly. So in fairness, it's a little more complicated than just where's your stop. But from a general rule is this, like I said, a prior pivot low could have been, say, a prior weekly low. You could use just slightly under that because it should hold that, or should hold at least the week prior to that. You could do that. You could use a reversal, a market key reversal, and you could use the average true range, or you could use a 10% stop or something like that. So that, or say a 2-point stop. So those are the ideas, and I give every once in a while, a lot of times I will put stops on when I feel it's necessary. People have seen it. It's just that I need a little bit of sometimes I put a little more freedom for our purposes to try to make sure we're not getting stopped out on some positions when they're just volatile.